Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. And it looks like we have the decks on the wrong side again. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not actually sure how that happened. We have Nick on what I thought was Death and Taxes based off of his opening hand, but apparently that's not the case. This is going to be a very spicy kind of Maverick-ish build. Let's see what this actually ends up being. Goblins leading out with a Rashad port, a Wasteland in hand. That basic forest does not care about that at all. No Lackey, no Vial for Goblins so far. On the other side, we see Aether Vial and Mother of Runes, cards that led me to believe that it was actually a Death and Taxes deck when I wrote the name in there. Fetching a Bayou. And now a Tundra, and Andras going to have to try and piece together what he is dealing with here. Leovold is going to punish that Rashad and Port activation during the upkeep, porting a land, actually allowing Nick to draw a card. And now fetching, and this just lines up terribly for Andrade. Three damage for Leovold. Recently, Narset has taken over the role of denying card drawing for your opponents. I think many people have forgotten just how powerful Leovold is. Yes, the mana is harder, but it is a body and a legitimate win condition in its own right. Now here, Goblins not usually going to care very much about the card drawing part of it, but not being able to deny mana with these Wastelands and Rashad ports is potentially a real issue. Nick just able to push forward. His mana base really just going to be totally free here thanks to the Leovold. So Green Sun Zenith being played. Now that's going to need to get shuffled back into the library. It looks like right now it's headed toward the graveyard. Kasali Pride Mage. Nick catching that. And now vialing in a Ramnap Excavator? I forget how to pronounce that. Birds of Paradise as well, and this is a full-on menagerie here from Nick with this Maverick build. Kasali Pride Mage comes out, potentially going to give things Exalted, but instead everything's just going to get in there. And Andrade has seen enough, or at least taken enough damage. Probably would like to take a look through this list of Nicks and see exactly what's going on, because this is some spiciness here. Just got a like on one of our other videos there. Hey Francisco, thanks for watching. So Andrade with a deck that's usually the spicier of the two at the table. Goblins, a kind of a fringe player, definitely capable of hanging with the big boys, but usually you're playing the spicier list when you've got the little green men. But yeah, Nick with this Maverick list has some literal green men. Things like Birds of Paradise, a whole toolbox full of creatures that are accessible with this Green Sun Zenith. Perhaps Fauna Shaman. Queer and Ranger just does so much work in these builds, doubling up on mana with Birds of Paradise. It looks like Nick's very suspicious of his Aether Vial's ability to stay on board here. Oh, Peacekeeper. That's a card. not all it used to be. Goblins has many, many ways around Peacekeeper at this point, aside from, of course, just killing the Peacekeeper with cards like Goblin Sharpshooter, Mog Fanatic. You also now have a ton of non-combat damage ways to end the game. Pashalik Mons and Sling Gang Lieutenant now team up to basically obsolete the previously solid Siege Gang commander. Siege Gang used to do a ton of work, but now it seems to be more efficient to go the other route. Pashalik Mons and Siege Gang and Sling Gang not requiring nearly the same type of mana investment, but also allows you to kind of outlast any type of opponent. The red and black build of Goblins likely here to stay for a while. They picked up a bunch of tools with Modern Horizons. Goblin Matron and some other key reprints bringing Goblins actually right into Modern, practically a legacy deck. So I'm optimistic that a lot of legacy players, a lot of Modern players will eventually find their way into legacy with this very fun deck. It is fun to be able to upgrade a deck that you play in other formats. Things like Goblin Lackey feel pretty good when you've got an already solid deck. Is that a true name Nemesis? This thing is all over the place. Scavenging Ooze. I mean, we're really getting to see a lot of what Nick has in this list as he rifles through for his sideboarding options. I suspect Quirin Ranger and Birds of Paradise together form some of his best draws with its rather demanding mana base. Quirin Ranger allowing, of course, to untap the Birds of Paradise to get extra of whatever color you need, and then also returning whatever dual lands that are forests, potentially giving you double duty for a card like Tropical Island, for example, to get the double blue for a card like True Name Nemesis that I believe we saw in there. We'll see. That may not have been the card that I thought it was. We'll see what actually comes out. A Dryad Arbor in hand. That's not really where you want that card. Dryad Arbor, type of card that you're happy to Green Sun Zenith for, to accelerate your mana on turn 1, as long as your rest of your hand can support using it in that way. You can also fetch using a fetch land that can get forests. So, you know, your Misty Rainforest, probably all of the fetches in his deck, I'd have to imagine, Windswept Heath, etc., are going to be able to go get a Dryad Arbor as well for a surprise blocker. That can always be a good response to being attacked with things like Snapcaster Mage or Dark Confidant. That's every Dryad Arbor's dream, to just surprise block a high value card on the other side of the table. And now Nick, considering the danger of this opposing Wasteland, really thinks about it, and I think signals that he does not want this to get wastelanded. And a 3-mana Blood Moon. So that's going to shut off a lot of this crazy mana base, but he does have that basic forest. Dryad Arbor now, a 1/1 creature that does not tap for green. It is a mountain. And a 2/2 haste not turning sideways. Andraj playing a bit more conservatively than I would have anticipated. Perhaps he feels like he is just firmly in the driver's seat from here on out, and he's just going to look to go kind of overwhelmingly over the top. Matron now grabbing another War Chief. Making all the goblins cost 2 less. I am slightly shocked by this line. we may see just a whole flurry of goblins coming up. 2-mana ringleaders. The best impulse Goblins has ever had. Scrib Sprites coming in for 1. Now the Scavenging Ooze, potentially an issue. Being able to get big enough could be a real problem. And Andrade actually taking it out now with the Scavenging Ooze. I believe right now they're discussing whether or not the Gem Palm Incinerator is actually in the graveyard when it's targeting the Scavenging Ooze. It actually is, so he will be able to eat it and gain a life. And luckily, there's 3 goblins in play, so it will become a 3/3 and then die. That could have been an absolute blowout if he didn't have another goblin on board. Rules interaction that doesn't come up that often. Yixla Jailer, the card that probably best showcases that. Yixla Jailer is a card that makes all cards in graveyards lose their abilities. And when you're looking at a cycle Gem Palm Incinerator, it actually doesn't get the job done. Just 3 tokens being sent. Nick has some potential to use Scrib Sprites to do some untapping. But 3 hasty tokens. Continuing to chip away, but there's just so much that can be done here for damage. Now, no black, it's worth noting. This may actually be a little bit of a budget build of goblins. A lot of the stronger cards are here. You know, your Wastelands, your Rashadan Ports. He's got a Dark Blood Moon. Oh, and Pashalik Mons actually gets the concession there. Siege Gang going to be able to just start going directly to the face. And now we're heading into game number 3. Game 1, very one-sided there for Nick. Was able to get out a real lead. Game 2, Andrade really playing a lot more conservatively than I would have expected, keeping back a ton of hasty creatures and eventually just almost combo killing there with Pashalik Mons and Siege Gang Commander. What'll happen game 3 here? Blood Moon really restricting Nick's ability to kind of use the variety of cards in his deck here. He has a huge amount of options. Green Sun Zenith, probably a really high value card post board here, given the power of Blood Moon. Green Sun, all you need is a single forest, and then you have access to just about everything in your deck. Even if the rest of your lands end up being mountains, you can go get that Kasali Pride Mage to kill it. If he has any creatures that are green. Thank goodness Plague Engineer is not a green creature. Plague Engineer and Renin 6. Cards that definitely give Goblins players a little bit of pause. But as Goblin players, they're just going to continue moving forward no matter how ugly the opposing side can get. I mean, it's more of a lifestyle than anything. Renin 6 does feel pretty terrible when you've got a first turn lackey and they just drop a Renin 6 and kill it. We'll see if they eventually end up going the route of mutagenic growth or some type of 0 mana answers to keep their lackeys alive. Seems unlikely. I think the more likely scenario is just a wide array of creatures up and down the mana curve, not just front loading everything at the early stages of the game where you can be so easily disrupted, but making sure that you can make quality plays with all your mana. And then when Vile and Lackey do work out, all the better. Being able to keep Vile on 4 Pretty significant improvement given the printing of Sling Gang Lieutenant. 4 mana, of course, allows you to reload with your Goblin Ringleaders. And looks like Nick's got an Aether Vial and some lands, a Bird of Paradise. It's an interesting decision about which one to put out first. We'll see what he decides. And he is grabbing a Savannah into an Aether Vial. He wants those counters as fast as possible. And a Skirk Prospector, a card that gives Goblins quite a lot of unexpected plays, being able to sack stuff. For example, up against a Batterskull is pretty devastating. Denying that life gain, and if you've got enough Goblins, it can be a real issue. And there we go, Skirk Prospector being sacrificed for Blood Moon. Mother of Runes gets vialed in. And from here, Nick has a basic Forest, Birds, and Noble Hierarch. Hierarch's actually going to get aggressive here. Will Blood Moon be enough? Nick largely out of gas. I can't quite make out that Goblin card. Three mana. Oh, it's a Trash Master. The 4 mana card costing 3 mana. And that Aether Vial now can be taken out by the next expendable Goblin. These mana creatures going to be very important in surviving. Scavenging Ooze now. Joining that Leovold. And we have ourselves a game. 3-color threat in the form of Leovold actually coming down despite Blood Moon, thanks to Birds of Paradise and Noble Hierarch. Ooh, and now Krenko. Now Krenko has haste. And that's going to create 3 more Goblins. This can be sacked to take out that Aether Vial. That will net a card. So the card draw is going to happen first. And he's going to go ahead and vial in. I have no idea what that card is. Let me know in the comments. Something that exiles a creature, some type of Containment Priest style effect. Boy, it looked like Krenko was just going to completely take this game over. That is not the case here. Andrade's going to need some type of removal to get that Krenko back. Leovold turning sideways. Now the Trashmaster also gives these Goblins +1/+1. I think blocking with a couple of tokens may have been a reasonable thing to do there, but oh, here we go, Gem Palm Incinerator. Perfect. Looking to get that Krenko back. Mother of Runes giving it pro-red. Now another Trashmaster. So yeah, completely forgetting about that Mother of Runes. So this Leovold's going to be swinging for 4 due to Exalted. It may have been best to be blocking getting him to use Mother of Runes and then use this Gem Palm Incinerator. The card draw does happen regardless. Cycling does mean discard this card to draw a card. The trigger happens when you discard it. I'm not sure what we just witnessed there. Looked like there was a judge call. And now a Palace Jailer. That's going to take out another Trash Master. And Nick is now the Monarch, swinging with Scavenging Ooze. And this is getting ugly. Another Gem Palm Incinerator. He may be looking for some end step. Is that a double Incinerator? Getting Krenko back would be absolutely huge. So we've got a Gem Palm in hand and now a Siege Gang Commander. Siege Gang threatening to blow this game wide open. He can start taking down threats during the next turn. Of course, each one of those will potentially be extra cards for Nick due to Leovold. Hopefully we see a Goblin token being thrown at Mother of Runes, forcing the tap down, and then a Gem Palm Incinerator clearing this Leovold. Scavenging Ooze. Mother of Runes really has to be dealt with ASAP here. A Fauna Shaman. That is another card to be worried about. Krenko coming in. That is during the end step. Krenko can make a heck of a lot more goblins here. Goblin Matron. And it looks like Krenko's going to be able to just create an incredible amount of goblins. Does he have a Chieftain or something that gives Mountain Walk? And there we go, Pashalik Mons. Only 2 mana for him. Making a massive goblin army here and turning sideways. So Andrade toughing it out and finding a way to win in 3. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.